Hello and welcome back to Shapes. We are going to review the two Make Anything factories I've built and discuss the pros and cons of each briefly, as well as address the new situation that we have, which is a shape with a missing quadrant. Let's first look at this one here. This factory here is a one full belt system. It is grossly undersupplied from shapes. We have only 4 belts of each shape coming into it. Now each shape could have basically consists of 16 full belts of shapes. Each layer has 4 quadrants, and there are 4 layers, so 4 times 4 would be 16. We are only supplying 4 full belts of each shape. So I don't know what the probability of how many shapes are in shape, but for instance on this one, the stars here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the 16 layers are stars. So it is using a whole bunch of stars, and we are only supplying 4 full belts of stars instead of the 10 required. So the storage buffers are hopefully making up for that. It'd probably require a little bit of tweaking. We might have to increase this to 6 belts of star parts. But either way, it's very efficient on its shapes. The problem with this one is, we're only supplying 2 full belts of each color, whereas we need 8 full belts of each color. These painter systems only use half a belt. So it is, again, way undersupplied on colors, but the storage system seems to be keeping up on that one. The problem with this system is these shapes down here. Because I don't have any error check in here, so this one right here is backed up. It's not producing these 2 middle belts because these 2 side belts are full. And that's because, the circle is not being requested in this shape. The star is being requested, but it's not operating because the factories are froze right now because of the missing quadrant. We'll cover that problem in a second. So basically what I need to do here, I first decided I should analyze each storage unit here, make sure each storage unit is full, pass on a signal to the next one, and just pass up the signal. If it gets all the way up to the top here and they're all full, we know we're good. If we're not all full, we need to throw something away to make these belts run. The problem with that is we have no idea what this shape is dependent on, and it gets quite a lot of logic that is compounded as you work your way up through the storage units, because there is a ton of storage units. So I decided that wasn't the best path because we didn't know the circle. We don't know what it's really dependent on. We'd have to come down here and check to realize that the squares aren't being produced because we have star and a semicircle here being used. So then I thought we could attach a belt reader to each one of these and use that signal. It does emit a signal here. But that doesn't work either because this belt is full, this belt is empty, and they're both putting out a 0 signal. So we have no way to tell whether a negative signal is full or empty. So that became too complicated of a logic to figure out. And then I realized we basically have a built-in solution for this. The storage units have a built-in priority system. The star here, it'll always come out here first if there's space available. If not, it'll spit it out over here. So we could use that to our advantage. We could basically put down a storage unit right here and put down a trash right here. And it will only throw these shapes away if it can't output down here, which is exactly what we want, because we want these shapes to be thrown away as well, because these two systems are backed up, preventing this one from backing up. Let's get rid of these. So if we delete this, if we put storage unit in here as well with the garbage, that has fixed our problem right there, except I deleted the belt. And we can actually do this for these as well. And I will just run a belt up here so you can see that it works. It's not throwing anything away right now, because it's recognizing that they are all being sent up this way, so it's not deleting anything here. Whereas this one here is all these shapes are just being entered and thrown away right away. So it can make sure the system is continually running. So that's exactly what we want. So we will address that for all factories coming into here. and that should solve our starvation problem of these shapes. We still might have to tweak how much. Maybe 4 belts isn't enough, but we will see. The other make anything factory we did over here was this one. This is 2 full belt system. It creates 2 full belts of shapes. It is quite large, and it has a lot of wasted shapes. This is quite small. If we had to copy and paste this one down, we could copy this one somewhat easily. It's not very big. We could run 4 full belts out of it and have 4 full belts coming out pretty easily once we figure out the incoming shape solution. Over here, though, we have, just a refresher, we have these 4 full belts of each shape, or I should say 2 full belts of each shape coming into the system here. And then we are basically analyzing it right here, saying which shape do we need, throw away the rest. So this machine is always operating no matter what. It's not right now because of the missing quadrant, but it does throw away 3/4 of these shapes. It only uses this belt, throws away the rest, which guarantees this thing is still operating all the time. So somewhat wasteful. We are throwing away 3/4 of our shapes, so 75% of our shapes we're just throwing away. Now shapes are basically unlimited, but it still bothers me that it's throwing away all those shapes that we could be using. The other problem is if we have to copy this, it wouldn't be too bad, I guess, but it is quite a large factory to copy. You know, if we copy this one down here, it would just be this little piece right here, which is still much smaller than this giant factory over here. So overall, this one I feel is maybe a little bit better, although it is not quite as reliable as this one. This one burns through shapes, but it is reliable. We're currently at level 95. That was the first time I got requested a missing shape. As far as I can tell, it's only going to be a single corner missing. The logic would be completely different if there was more than one corner missing. But in order to handle that, we need to come over to our MAM and basically analyze it. So this one is not getting a signal because it is the missing shape, right? The upper right quadrant here is missing shape. So we need to handle a system to basically analyze this shape's coming down in here. It needs stacked with these to make the final shape. It has to check to see, is this shape empty? If it is empty, just route it around the stackers here and over to this system, and it will basically not stack it because this is the shape we need. Now there's 4 different possibilities for this because there's 4 quadrants, so this one is the first quadrant. The second quadrant down here is this shape coming in over here. If this were empty, it would be the same logic. This belt just needs routed around the system, not into the stackers. It needs routed around it and just continue up on its path. Third quadrant, same basic thing. If this quadrant is empty, this needs routed around the stackers. But this quadrant down here, the fourth quadrant, doesn't have a stacker. So if this quadrant is empty, this has a counter dependency. Basically, if this layer is empty, it needs to route these around the stackers. So this last layer is a little bit unique, but it should be not too difficult to handle. Let's go ahead and handle the first possibility, the first quadrant here. Let's go ahead and delete some of these, just give it some room to work. That was not what I wanted to do. Right, so we basically need to just create a bypass here. If this signal is empty, the shape signal is empty, we need to create a bypass to send it around the stacker. So we can just basically start by putting 2 filters in here. Let's give it some space since we have some room. So this is our incoming shape signal. This is our incoming color signal. Right now they're both empty because it is not requesting the thing, but this is the shape. So basically what we can do is change this one to a blue wire, and then we can grab this signal here, bring it over to here, and then what we need to do is throw some logic signals on here. Let's throw a not signal on here, I think. That basically just reverses the input. If it's true, it's false, and if it's false, it's true, I believe. Let's just rotate this around. And you can see that reverts the null signal into a 1. So basically it says that, like, if we didn't have this here before, these filters don't know what to do. They're flashing. They have no idea what to do with a null signal. So if we throw that signal back on there, now you can see they're working fine. This basically takes the null signal, converts it to a 1. As you can see down here, this is the second quadrant. The shape here is not empty. It has the star shape in the, well, this is upper right quadrant, but it converts that to a 0. So it basically says, okay, this is true here, so let's reverse it and make it a negative or a false. So what we can do with that information is we can say, okay, if it's 1, that means there's empty, that there's no shape in that quadrant, so we should take it up and bypass we can bypass the stackers. So we'll grab this and run it down this way. We'll do something similar with this one. We'll have to do some tunneling. And then basically, I'll make this look neater, but it'll be something like this. So basically, if this has a shape on it, this will be a 0. It'll send it out the side here, which will go into the stackers. And if it's a 1, it'll just bypass the stackers, and we'll hook it up into this section back over here. Alright, this is where the first 2 quadrants are stacked, so we have to check both lines to make sure neither of them are null. So I threw these in up here. One thing to note is I just grabbed the signal from this last quadrant, or the first quadrant, however you want to refer to it, and it comes up here, and I just did a double NOT gate to reverse it, so that way I could have the shapes come out this side and the bypass come out the front, up the top. So basically, if the shape is null, it will, if the bottom shape down here, the shape down here, this shape here is null, meaning it's not there, we will have, it'll come out this side here. So this double NOT gate is a way of just reversing it instead of trying to make spaghetti out of the belts. So we have to copy this down to the other layers. This is just layer 1. I got to do layer 2, 3, and 4 here. That's why something like this would be nicer. It's so much easier to work with. This is kind of a mess. I could probably make a better version of this, and I probably will. But luckily for us, this first quadrant, we can test it because the first quadrant is the one that's missing. The first layer, I should say. So I have enough to set it up so that we can test it. All I gotta do is hook it up right here. And this needs connected. So that should get the system going. We will see if it, right now it's just making garbage shapes, clearing out the system. But it should take only about a minute, minute and a half, and it will be making the regular shape. So we'll give it that time and see. But as you can see, this shape is coming through with a section missing. And it's less than a minute later, and it is working. It's letting the shape through. We should be able to achieve this shape in no time. We will have to go through and copy that down to the other layers. But basically we can handle the floating layers now. This one, we locked out the first quadrant one is again, so it'll actually go through this one. Alright, once I copy this system around, we should be good up to, I'll actually copy it over to this one, this make anything machine as well. So we will have 3 full belts coming in, which will be roughly 52 per second. Right now it's only requesting 21 per second. We're at level 97, 98 now, and it is only still 21 per second, so we're good for a while. I am going to work on upgrading this system to accommodate the missing quadrant shape. Like, let's check the shape here. This is all four shapes require all 4 quadrants. But this one will be a lot easier to work with. This is why I like this one better too. Like this one over here, in order to do this, we had to work on this and come down to here to work on this. Whereas over here, it's going to be much simpler. This is all one layer being put together right here. So all my wires, there's not even any wires in here right now. So I could easily create a bypass in here, work on one screen and not have to take up a huge amount of screen space to bypass the stackers. So overall, I still kind of like this one better. Overall, I think I kind of like this smaller one better here. It has a little bit of upgrades that need done yet to make it work fully efficient, but it's much easier to troubleshoot. It's much cleaner. Everything's divided out nicely. You know, if I have to bypass these stackers here, I can easily do it on one screen here without trying to take up a huge amount of screen real estate like this one over here takes. You know, this whole area takes up one shape, so it's harder to troubleshoot it. Whereas this shape over here, you know, it's only this part is one shape, so much easier to troubleshoot. So overall, I like that one better. We are good up to 54 or 52 per second. Come in with these shapes once I copy the bypasses around. We're now at 22 per second, level 99. But we should be good for a while now. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.